It is like a horror movie. 4 people locked away and held against their will in a basement. For one of them, captivity lasted nearly 10 years. On Sundays, his father stood at the pulpit, preaching to the congregation. But back home, Donnie Ray Birchfield Jr. was allegedly running a full-blown house of horrors. No one could have imagined that he had 4 people hidden in his basement, including women he chillingly referred to as his lovers. Police say he starved them, beat them, drained their bank accounts, and even bragged that he knew how to make a body disappear. And here's the scariest part. He pulled this off for years, smiling in family photos, showing up at church, acting like nothing was wrong, until one tragic moment finally blew the entire nightmare wide open. What makes this case even more unbelievable: police would never have discovered what was happening inside that house if one of the victims hadn't died. From the outside, it looked picture perfect. A tidy home in a quiet Lancaster, South Carolina neighborhood. The patriarch, Pastor Donnie Birchfield Sr., led Friendship Baptist Church. His wife appeared online as the image of a devoted Christian mother. His adult children were also active in church life. And then there was his 35-year-old son, Donnie Ray Birchfield Jr., or Donnie, as we'll call him. To neighbors, this family seemed respectable, trustworthy, almost untouchable. So when police got a call on July 25, 2025, about an unattended death inside the Birchfield home, they weren't expecting much. Maybe an elderly relative who'd passed peacefully in their sleep. Maybe a tragic but natural cause. Nothing more. At the moment paramedics stepped through the door, they knew this was no ordinary call. The victim was a woman, and red flag number 1. She'd been dead for an entire day before anyone dialed 911. Suspicious, right? Then came red flag number 2. Her body told a story no words could. She was rail thin, almost skeletal, like she hadn't eaten in weeks. Her skin, scars, marks that screamed long-term abuse. By this point, alarm bells weren't just ringing. They were deafening. Something about this house was very wrong. And when investigators searched deeper, the horror revealed itself. Down in the basement, 3 more people. A man and 2 women, frail, starved-looking, cut off from the world like they hadn't seen daylight in years. And here's the kicker. That man was the husband of the woman who had just died. So now, the question wasn't just what happened, it was, how did her husband, along with 2 other women, end up locked in Donnie's basement? That's where this case twists into something straight out of a nightmare. The moment investigators realized what they'd uncovered, that house turned into a full-blown crime scene, and all eyes immediately turned to the pastor's son, Donnie. According to police, he had been holding these 4 people captive in his basement for years, starving them, isolating them, stripping away any means of escape. He took their phones so they couldn't call for help. He controlled when they could eat, when they could sleep, even when they were allowed to use the bathroom. But here's the question that haunts this case. How did they even end up in his basement in the first place? That's where it gets truly heartbreaking. The woman who died and her husband were described as vulnerable adults. They were both over 18, but unable to live fully on their own. For years they tried. In fact, they had their own place until about 6 years ago when they were evicted from their rental home. That's when Donnie swooped in. No one knows exactly how they met. Maybe through church, maybe somewhere else. But he came across as a kind, generous man. He offered to take them in. And that was the last time their family saw them free. The man's sister, Teresa Hinson, never stopped searching. She filed missing persons reports, chased every lead, prayed for answers, until the gut-wrenching day she learned the truth. Her brother had been trapped in Donnie's basement the entire time.
It really makes me sick that I couldn't do nothing. I want to know why. Why them? I mean, of all the people in the world, why?
When Teresa was finally reunited with her brother in the hospital, she almost didn't recognize him. He looked 70 pounds lighter, frail, feeble, barely hanging on. He looked so weak, she said.
He really didn't say anything because I think he was still like trauma.
I walked out of that room and just broke down crying. It was heartbreaking. Now, Teresa is waiting for answers and demanding justice for her brother and his wife.
I'm hoping he gets charged to the fullest extent. Honestly.
But as devastating as their story is, it was the discovery of the other two victims in that basement that took this case from horrifying to downright twisted. As if this case wasn't already disturbing enough, investigators uncovered something that made it even more twisted. The other two women found in that basement weren't random victims. They were romantically involved with Donnie. According to investigators, one of the women had been under Donnie's control since 2015, nearly a decade. For 10 years, her family was out there wondering where she was, maybe searching, maybe grieving, while all along, she was trapped beneath his home. The second woman had been there since September 2024, but the abuse was just as horrifying. Donnie's control over them wasn't just physical, it was absolute. He allegedly stripped away every ounce of independence. No phones, no contact with the outside world, no freedom to come and go. He dictated everything: when they could eat, when they could sleep, even when they were allowed to use the bathroom. And if they dared to resist, he lashed out. One woman told police that Donnie threatened to kill her, that he strangled her during sometimes until she lost consciousness. Even worse, she claimed he bragged that he knew how to make a body disappear because he'd done it before. She told investigators she lived every single day in constant fear, certain she would never make it out alive. According to police reports, Donnie prevented his victims from using the bathroom without permission, starved them, and blocked them from contacting loved ones. He's also accused of killing one woman for so long that she blacked out. But here's the chilling part. Donnie wasn't just controlling their bodies, he was controlling their wallets too. And the financial trail investigators uncovered showed just how far he was willing to go for power and control, leaving everyone stunned. But Donnie's control went even further. He wasn't just imprisoning his victims physically and emotionally, he was exploiting them financially too. Investigators discovered that Donnie had been using the couple's debit and credit cards like his own personal bank account. The spending records were jaw-dropping. Since 2021, he'd made at least 32 transactions at Walmart, spending over $2,000, and not a single purchase was for his victims. Every dollar went to Donnie himself, but that was only the beginning. Court documents revealed that over an 8-month span in 2025, Donnie drained nearly $12,000 from his victims' bank accounts, money he used not for food or necessities, but to pay down his own mountain of credit card debt. Basically, while his victims wasted away in his basement, Donnie was upstairs improving his credit score with their money. One police report even stated bluntly, all of these purchases were made solely for the suspect's use and not the victim's. And if that's not shocking enough, his public life made it even more surreal. On social media, Donnie appeared to be living it up, posting photos with professional wrestlers, flashing big chains around his neck, smiling, laughing, like your average guy enjoying his hobbies. But behind closed doors, those chains weren't just an accessory. They were symbolic of the total control he allegedly held over his victims, down to their last dollar. And I know what you're probably wondering. Where was his family during all of this? That's why this story takes an even darker turn. Because despite all the mounting evidence, Donnie's family wasn't condemning him. They were defending him. Here's the part that takes this case from chilling to almost surreal. While investigators laid out evidence of abuse, starvation, and fraud, Donnie's own family wasn't condemning him. They were defending him. Think about that. This was a family living under the same roof, in the very same house where police say people were locked in a basement dungeon. And yet, instead of outrage, they pushed back against the story. His father, Pastor Donnie Birchfield Sr., told reporters that the entire situation was being misrepresented. His exact words, "It's amazing how things have been twisted in the news. I'd like to tell you more, but I can't." Then came his sister, who took to Facebook, practically pleading with the public to stop judging her brother. She wrote, "Before you share or repost anything about my family, please stop and put yourself in our place. What if it were your son, your brother, or your friend being judged online?" Spreading speculation, repeating unverified claims, and adding commentary only causes more harm. It's not helping anyone. Even his stepmother chimed in, posting a reminder not to believe everything you read in the news. Meanwhile, the neighbors were reeling, shocked, horrified, trying to wrap their heads around how something so nightmarish could have been happening right in their own community. "This is a quiet area, a quiet neighborhood," one neighbor said. "I was shocked to hear anything like this happened, and to think it was going on right around the corner from our house, near the park where our kids play. It's terrifying." A longtime neighbor, Christy Bonds, said she'd lived near the Birchfields for over 10 years. She never really interacted with Donnie or his father, but described his mother and sister as kind, polite people. Looking back now, though, she can't shake the unease. "There were a lot of little things that didn't seem like much at the time," she said, "but now they make a lot more sense. I feel awful for everyone involved. It's heartbreaking for the victims, for the families, for this whole community." And that's the horror of it. To the outside world, the Birchfield family looked like pillars of the church, respected, devout, untouchable. But behind closed doors, neighbors now describe Donnie's actions as sick, twisted, and incomprehensible. And the deeper police dig, the clearer it becomes. The true nightmare inside that house was far worse than anyone in Lancaster could have imagined. When it comes to the law, Donnie isn't just in a little bit of trouble. The list of charges against him is staggering. 16 charges in total. False imprisonment, vulnerable adults, domestic of a high and aggravated nature, exploitation, identity theft, financial fraud, and prosecutors have already warned more charges could be coming. It makes sense. Investigators are still piecing together how this nightmare went on for so long and whether anyone else was involved. But here's one key point. Donnie hasn't been charged with murder, at least not yet. Why? Because investigators still don't know exactly how the woman in his home died. The official cause of death hasn't been released. Until that report comes in, a cloud of uncertainty still hangs over this case. Meanwhile, Donnie's attorney, M. Ryan Payne, released a statement reminding the public that his client is presumed innocent until proven guilty, and that they intend to fight this out in court, where facts and evidence matter. But just when you think this story can't get any stranger, it does, because Donnie wasn't the only one arrested that day. Investigators also took a woman into custody, and she wasn't some random bystander caught in the chaos. She was romantically linked to Donnie. On social media, she'd posted photos of the two of them together just months before the arrests. Smiling, embracing, even one of Donnie kissing her on the forehead. To outsiders scrolling by, it looked like a sweet, ordinary relationship. But to investigators, it looked a whole lot like complicity. When the dust settled, she wasn't treated as a witness. She was charged. Her charge: failure to report the abuse and neglect of vulnerable adults. In other words, prosecutors believe she knew what was happening inside that basement and chose to say nothing. Court records show she was booked on August 1st, the same day as Donnie. But here's the staggering contrast. While Donnie sat behind bars on a $150,000 bond, she posted just $2,000 and walked free. And here's the part that makes your skin crawl. The address listed for her arrest was the same house where Donnie allegedly kept his victims locked up for years. That means she was living right there, in the middle of it all. So now, a haunting question lingers. Was she another victim trapped in Donnie's twisted orbit, or an accomplice who chose silence over saving lives? That's what prosecutors and the public are still trying to figure out. And if she could walk away after posting bond, what else might still be hidden in this case? But what makes this case truly terrifying is that it isn't the first time something like this has happened. Think back to Cleveland, the Ariel Castro kidnappings. On the outside, Castro was a devoted Catholic, a school bus driver, a father. But secretly, he was a predator hiding in plain sight. Between 2002 and 2004, he abducted Michelle Knight, Amanda Berry, and Gina DeJesus. Michelle was just 21, on her way to a custody hearing for her son when she vanished. Police assumed she'd run away. A year later, Amanda Berry disappeared on her 17th birthday after leaving her shift at Burger King. The FBI initially dismissed her as another runaway until her mother got a chilling call a week later from a man saying, "I have Amanda. She's fine. She'll be home in a few days." But she never came home. Then came Gina DeJesus, only 14 years old, on her way back from school. She trusted Castro enough to accept a ride because she was friends with his daughter. That one decision changed her life forever. All three women were trapped inside Castro's house for years, until 2013, when Amanda Berry finally escaped with the daughter she had given birth to while in captivity. Police stormed the home, rescued the others, and Castro's double life crumbled. He was charged with over 900 counts, sentenced to life plus 1,000 years, and a month later, he took his own life in prison. But here's the haunting truth. Every time a case like this surfaces, neighbors say the same words. "I had no idea." Sylvia Colin, co-founder of Cleveland Missing, said it best.
I would rather have a neighbor be upset with me that maybe I said something that perhaps was inaccurate than what if somebody was there.
She reminded everyone that survivors need time and space to heal, and that communities should support them, not re-traumatize them through gossip or speculation.
Allowing people to reacclimate back into whatever life that they were taken from. And I would say honor that and respect that. You can still love on them and care about them. And I would say the community should do that.
Maybe that's the real horror here, that sometimes the people we least suspect, the ones smiling in family photos, preaching on Sunday mornings, holding your hand in prayer, are capable of unspeakable things. And as for Donnie Ray Birchfield Jr., with 16 charges already filed and prosecutors warning more are coming, this story is far from over. Because if he could keep 4 people hidden for years inside his family's home, the question is, what else might still be out there? Thank you for watching this video. If you found this story interesting, please share your thoughts about the Donnie Ray Birchfield Jr. case in the comments below. I read every comment and truly appreciate hearing your opinions. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more true crime stories that reveal the hidden truths behind real events.